All right, so we are on to lesson number 2 for today. So we're looking at solving one-step equations. I'm going to pull up our work here. So an equation is something, it's a mathematical sentence where there's two expressions that are joined by an equal sign. So that means that we're going to have something on the left side of the equal sign as well as something on the right side. And when we're asked to solve for an equation, that means that we're trying to find what the actual number is for that letter, that variable that we have inside of our equation. So in order to do that, you have to do the opposite of BEDMAS. So you're going to start with the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and then you do exponents, and then you do brackets. So you guys did do some of that when you looked at Pythagorean theorem. So I'm hoping that this will be a bit of review and relatively easy for you. So we're going to start by looking at the expressions that are being added or subtracted. So all you really have to do is you have to make sure that you're leaving that variable on its own. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the opposite of what it's saying. So right now we want to get rid of this -8. And because it's being minus or subtracted, you want to do the opposite. So you're going to add 8 on both sides. So again, exactly like we did with Pythagorean, it's not too much different. So -8 plus 8 is just going to give you 0. So that cancels out, and that's exactly what we want to do. So then x equals to 12 plus 8 here. So our x is equal to 20. That's simple. Okay, if we look here, so we have x plus 9. So the opposite of plus 9 would be to subtract 9 on both sides. So it's important to know that whatever you do on one side, you have to do to the other one. And that keeps it balanced. So plus 9 minus 9 cancels out. So we're left with x. And x is equal to 15 subtract 9, which is 6. Here we're going to add 2 on both sides. So that cancels out. We're left with x. And x equals 5 plus 2, which is 7. Okay, so there's some examples where the right side of the equation is a negative term. So it doesn't really do too much. You're still going to do the same process. So like here, it's being subtracted 15. So we're going to add 15 on both sides. So this cancels out and we're left with x. So x is equal to negative 27 plus 15, which is negative 12. Here we have x plus 4 equals negative 12. So because we have plus 4 here, we're going to subtract 4 on both sides. So that cancels out, and we're left with x equals negative 12 minus 4, which gives us negative 16. And here we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. That cancels out. So negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. So I'm going to erase that, and we're going to look at multiplying and dividing equations. So remember that we're doing the opposite. So if this is 3 times x equals 15, we're going to do the opposite of what it's doing right now. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So what we're going to do with these guys is we're going to multiply both sides by 3. So 3 times x divided by 3 just gives us x. Okay, and then we're going to do 15 divided by 3, which is 5. We're going to do the same thing here. So divide by 4. on both sides. So x is going to be equal to 8 divided by 2, which is, or 8 divided by 4, which is 2. And then we've got the examples here of it being divided. So x divided by 3 is equal to 3. So the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So we're going to multiply both sides by that number. Okay, so these guys are going to be canceled out and we're going to be left with x. And we're going to do 3 times 3, which is 9. Same thing here. We're going to multiply by 5 because the opposite of division by 5 is multiplication. So we're going to be left with x. And it's going to be 9 times 5, which is 45. Okay, so we're going to try this with some negative terms. So just keep in mind that the negative or the positive always stays with the number that it's at. They're kind of like Siamese twins. I like to think of them as. So the same thing here, because it's being multiplied by negative 10, if we divide both sides by negative 10, this guy gets canceled out. So we're left with n equals 40 divided by negative 10, which will be negative 4. Same thing here. So 5n divided by 5, we're left with n. Whatever we do on one side, we have to do on the other. So negative 25 divided by 5 is negative 5. And you are allowed to use your calculator for this. I mean, it is better if you don't, but if you need to, it's fine. So here we have x divided by 4 equals negative 2. So we want to multiply both sides by 4. We're doing the opposite, which is x, and then, so negative 2 times 4 is going to give us negative 8. We're going to do the same thing here. So multiply both sides by 18. That cancels that out. So we're left with x equals negative 6 times 18, which gives us negative 108. So I'm going to clear that. You have quite a few independent practice questions to do today. And then there's a quiz on that for you tomorrow. Let me know if you need help. Again, we have our meeting at 2 if you need help, or you can email me to schedule a one-on-one with myself or Mr. Found.